flicks.
I am an FBI agent.
And Nino Brown, the guy who made Scarface seem like a total wuss.
Ooh, dark, black, and mean.
Yeah, I know. Andrea, she was a big fat liar.
Andrea lived on the wrong side of the tracks.
She lived in the valley with her skanky grandma, and she'd come over and fake it like she was a Beverly Hills kid.
Boys in the Hood was about the internal struggle that was going on in South Central.
Hey, man, what's wrong with you?
We got a problem here? What's up?
We got a problem?
Directorial debut of John Singleton, who went on to make No More Good Movies.
Who knew Ice Cube could act? And he stole the movie.
Domino say about that.
And he had that Jerry curl. That was a breakthrough also for him to get rid of it.
We got a problem?
He said something like, you know, need to eat too.
The ladies eat. Gotta eat too.
People say that, you know, they didn't know the word until they saw Boys in the Hood.
Why every time you talk about a female, you gotta say, hoochie?
Because that's what you are.
I mean, I was using the word hoe in the 80s, mostly in reference to farming.
Morris Chestnut, I hate that dude to this day. Because in the movie, his character was just like somewhere else.
I mean, if we gotta throw some heads, I think it'd be better if we're together.
Oh man, them fools ain't gonna wanna do nothing, man. They're just showing out. These guys are chasing him with a shotgun, and he's scratching off a lottery ticket. And I remember thinking, please kill him.
Ricky! He was a football player, and he ran for only 3 yards when he got shot.
Oh, dear. Oh, my goodness. What's this?
Who put pubic hair on my coat?
Is it yours?
You can't make that stuff up. Pubic hair on the Coke? No.
That was the first time that I ever heard pubic hair mentioned on the news.
I was really, really very troubled by it and distressed over it.
Most of the time we do that just for fun in the office, and we never think one of our female colleagues is going to rat on us.
This is a circus. It's a national disgrace.
She was just trying to say, this is the kind of man you're putting on the Supreme Court.
He discussed some pornographic material.
So the guy liked porn.
Clarence Thomas likes to go to the movies.
This was a reference to an individual who had a very large penis.
Long Don Silver.
Nice to know we have a Supreme Court judge who's a Long Dong Silver fan. That's comforting.
Like you all don't watch porn.
The biggest, I think, most poignant topic of the 90s to be touched upon is the explosion of grunge music out of Seattle.
Grunge means pseudo-crappy music made by people affected by adverse weather.
I thought it meant just what it was. Dirty, garage band.
Could never get into it because I got too hot. I can't be wearing a long-sleeve t-shirt and then a short-sleeve t-shirt. I'll faint.
Doc Martens were prerequisite. You had to grow the hair long.
Here was guys who looked like they just bagged your groceries.
Kurt Cobain was completely anti-fashion and then became the definitive fashion statement of the decade.
New Jack City was a wonderful coming-of-age story about a young man killing his people and having them be hooked on drugs. It was fantastic. You know what I mean?
You gotta rob to get rich in the Reagan era.
New Jack City was big, man. Nino Brown. Woo!
Nino Brown was the modern-day, Scarface.
We will own this city. Ooh, dark, black, and mean. Ooh, he just make you want to take crack.
Wesley Snipes was cold in a different way. Cold-eyed killer. You see? Using my Wesley Snipes eyes.
Am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? Oh, he was vicious. That was nasty.
Yes.
This ain't business, bitch. This is personal.
Ice-T, that boy, man, we gonna arrest this dude.
I was teamed up with Judd Nelson, and we had to go bring down the evil crack lord, Nino Brown.
Gangster was a glamorous cat, but at the end, he had a very short life, and as those guys do.
Some people die all crazy like, man, but he was like, He even fell off the balcony cool.
Later.
the dirty Ernest rocker, and Kim Thale, the dirty Harry rocker.
But then Thelma leaves him in the room with what? All the money.
Oh my God, Thelma, where's the money?
It's on the bed table. Having a night with Brad, was it worth losing $6 grand?
They go a little crazy, and then they drive off a cliff. I don't mean to ruin the ending, but they do drive off a cliff. And they're happy about it.
If you're like me and you believe they got to Mexico, and then they're down there with a mariachi band, and maybe they run a bar for Americans.
Should we do it together? Yeah, girl power, yeah.
Urkel started a whole revolution. Urkelmania.
Urkel was the guy who basically adopted the Winslow family as his own.
Maybe he didn't have such a good home life.
I came over one day and never left.
Good news, I'm here. He irritated my character, Laura Winslow. Touching, sorry.
You could not resist this guy. I broke a lot of stuff. Tore up a lot of stuff.
Did I do that?
After a couple of seasons, I wondered how any actor would get away from a role like that.
People ask me that all the time. They ask me, like, do you have the inclination to do voice now, whatever? And I'm like, no.
And I can relate to that because having done Forrest Gump, people still ask me for shrimp.
Shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger.
Like I carry shrimp around.
That's about it.
Why do you look like that? The high water, the big feet, which led me to believe, since he had big feet, that something was going on right there.
If you're a guy and you got your pants hiked up that far, something's gonna be hurting. You know, I mean, you're gonna be like all jammed up, either to the left or jammed up to the right.
They did me no justice in this region. None. What an outfit.
At a certain point, we were all looking at Jaleel when he was all dressed up like, we can see your balls.
Come on!
It's not so good.
What movie was it?
It's funny that Paul Reubens was caught watching Tiger Shark. That's like not even a porno name.
Pee-wee, had you not heard of VCRs?
You tainted your legacy. Why? Was it a double feature? How was the popcorn?
I think he butted his own popcorn in that one.
Here we go. The Super Bowl is underway and the kick sails down.
I know it was LT's last Super Bowl before he got cracked out.
You've got 140 million people watching this, and you've got this kicker, Scott Norwood, ready to kick it. He's going to be the biggest hero ever.
The quiet man of this football team, Scott Norwood. He can fire the shot heard round the world.
The kick is up, and it's no good. Wide right. The Giants win the Super Bowl.
Next thing you know, camera goes right to him. He's like, one.
Coming up, Jodie Foster gets a face full of man gravy.
You don't want to get too close to Miggs's bars when he calls you over because he throws things.
Hey, girl, what's up? Splat out.
Look at the blood!
I am an FBI agent. Point Break was a classic in the genre of undercover surfer cop investigating ex-president-themed mob ring movies.
Patrick Swayze was the head of the gang, and they used to put the president's mask on him. Sorry, Johnny. Looks like you don't get to be president.
My question is, how do you drive with these things on?
I can't see him.
You got a lot of blind spots. Your peripheral really goes away.
Utah, give me two. Gary Busey is a freak. I dig that guy.
I'm so hungry I could eat the ass end out of a dead rhino.
Weirdly enough, Gary Busey trying to play the steady FBI agent to Keanu Reeves' Wildcat. So, Point Break 2. Paddling out.
In 1991, we were introduced to Garth Brooks, the goofy cowboy that came from nowhere.
Garth shows up. Nobody wants anything to do with him in Nashville. Eventually turns out to be the biggest country star of all time. She goes and visits him in his cell, which is made out of plastic. Everybody else has bars. There was another guy who should have had plastic.
Multiple Miggs in the next cell.
He hissed at you. What did he say?
He said, I can smell your...
I myself
cannot.
You don't want to get too close to Miggs's bars. When he calls you over, Because he throws things.
Hey, girl, what's up? Splat out.
Look at the blood! I would have threw something back at his ass.
I can't get that character Buffalo Bill out of my head.
Buffalo Bill was a freak.
I like to see how serial killers dance. And when Buffalo Bill throws on the red robe and tucks his manhood between his legs and kind of shimmies about, tell me that's not disturbing.
Before I saw the movie, I had no idea that there was such a thing as a retractable penis.